What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. It's an ASAP used auto parts grind my gears Tuesday coming at you right now. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online. Stream it up over there at sportstalk1051.com. Got your Google and Alexa home devices, the Sports Talk app. Download that and take it on the go. Also, you've got the video streams up and rolling, Facebook, YouTube this morning. Appreciate you making us part of your start on this Tuesday morning of August 20th. What do we got on a good old game plan for us here this morning? We're going to talk some Brewers as the Brewer Crew back in action tonight to begin a 3-game series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Brewers holding on to an 11-game lead over the Cardinals for first place in the division. So, I mean, on one hand, Cardinals looking at this division or looking at this series as a must win if they have any sort of hope to get back in this divisional race or even just to get back in the wild card race here. And then the Brewers looking at this to like maybe put or drive that nail a little bit further into the coffin of the Cardinals and their playoff chances here. But also the Brewers, they got a little bit more to play for here too. Remember, they're just one back from a top spot, the top spot in the National League. So still a lot to play for here for the Brewers, but it's also a big series for the Cardinals as well. So Frankie Montas is going to get the start for the Crew. Eric Fetty's going to get the start for the Cardinals tonight. We'll hit it up and we'll talk about that and preview that game coming up here in just a little bit. But quick, I mean, entering this final quarter of the regular season here for the Brewers and for Major League Baseball, it's shaping up, I think, to kind of be an interesting run or an interesting race to the finish here for a bunch of different reasons, for almost every division that you could think of. I mean, you look at the AL East, I think it's going to be a battle between the Yankees and Baltimore all the way down to the wire. Yankees holding on to a half-game lead over Baltimore right now for the division. You look at the AL West, or excuse me, the AL Central with Cleveland. Twins fell last night to a very hot Padres team, but now the Royals and the Twins just 2.5 back from Cleveland for the division lead. You look at the AL West, Houston. I mean, Houston's playing some really good baseball right now. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games. So Seattle's got some ground to make up, and they're just 5 games back. But Houston's playing some darn good baseball right now. NL East, you got Philly who's up 7 over the Atlanta Braves, but Atlanta trying to still hold on to a wild card spot at this point in time. They're currently right now, if the playoffs started, holding on to that final one. But the Mets, 1.5 back from them. Giants, 3.5. Cardinals, 5. Cubs, 5.5 back. So they got some teams kind of on their nipping at their heels, nipping at their butts right now a little bit. The NL West, Dodgers still up by 3, but as we mentioned, the Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks trying to make this thing a race. Padres just 3 back. Diamondbacks just 4 back. And the Brewers, well, they're in a comfortable 11-game lead over the Cardinals. Don't get complacent, though, right? We don't want the Brewers to get complacent by any means. So, but MLB.com had a piece up who's rising, who's falling in the postseason race. Brewers were on there. The loss of Christian Yelich to season-ending back surgery could prove problematic for the Brewers when the postseason rolls around. But they appear to have the NL Central title well in hand. Milwaukee has gone 17-10 since the All-Star break, increasing its division lead from 4.5 games to 11 games. It almost felt, I mean, there was, besides the 5-game winning streak that they're currently on right now, Brewers are kind of hovering around 500 since the All-Star break. But then when you put in perspective, when they entered the All-Star break, they were up 4.5, and now they're currently up 11 games. I mean, that's That's a pretty big jump. 99% chance right now that they will make the postseason. Biggest fallers were the Cardinals on this list, by the way. Now they're down to a 3.9% chance, according to Fangraphs, using the Fangraphs playoff odds over there. Biggest risers, in case anybody's wondering, you had the Padres at number one, the Diamondbacks, the Royals, Astros. So probably not a lot of big surprisers. Biggest fallers: Cardinals, Mariners, Mets, Red Sox, and Giants. So, but we'll talk some baseball and preview this game coming up tonight. We're going to talk a little football here this morning as well. We're going to talk a little green and gold and taking a look at maybe kind of start to take a look at the rest of this week here leading up to Saturday's final preseason contest. I know a lot of people. I got asked about it again yesterday out and about and see it on social media. I mean, even have some of the beat writers kind of going back and forth on this. I mean, it was after this Denver week, joint practice and that game. Now you got kind of maybe some people freaking out about how the Packers look and if we should be concerned or if there's some major problems with this team. And I just, man, I feel like it's a little over exaggeration, but I also feel like it's, preseason. Are we just like getting antsy for the regular season? So we're maybe nitpicking and looking at different things and just trying to really find something to talk about. I don't know, but I feel like we're perhaps over exaggerating here a little bit. Is it fair to say that, hey, their backup quarterback situation right now doesn't look good? Yes. Is it fair to say that maybe their backup tackles don't look the greatest? Yes. But I mean, let's be real. If Jordan Love got hurt, knock on wood, and he was going to miss an extended amount of time, and the Packers were going to have a lot of injuries, chances are they probably wouldn't make the postseason. Chances are that would be the case. Never say never. We've seen other examples of it happening before. Rams and Patriots and all that. The list goes on. But I think we all kind of need to take a deep breath, and maybe we're just getting a little too antsy here, a little too wound up for the upcoming regular season here. But I saw this question posted too. Who's the defensive player? And I like this question, but who is the defensive player that you think will benefit the most from Jeff Hafley, new defensive coordinator? Who do you think is that one player? That one player that will benefit the most? That was an interesting question. I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit too. But if you got some picks, hit me up with the text. All right, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. So we'll throw a little football chat in there. We've got some Badger chat coming up with RJ Cardinal in a couple hours from now as the college football season is nearly upon us right now. Getting ready for that. Badgers getting ready to kick off here. We've got games coming up this Saturday already. Florida State, number 10 in the country, taking on Georgia Tech. The next Thursday, we got a bigger slate of games, but everything then next Friday, we've got Western Michigan taking on Wisconsin at Camp Randall. So we'll start to get ready for that season and get ready for the college football season with games coming up here with our chats with RJ Cardinal coming up at about 8:25 this morning. It is an ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. So, class, what's grinding your gears? All right, let's share it with the rest of the class. Get it off your chest. What's something that's grinding your gears here this morning? Let me know by hitting me up with the text on that texting line, or you can also comment on the video stream if you would like. So, let's get at it though. Pitter patter. Let's get at her. What's on your mind this morning? If there's something you want to hit up, if there's something that you want to talk about, there's a question you want to throw out to the rest of Sports Talk Nation out there, I'm all ears, baby. All right. I'm all ears. Send it on over. Let's get a good discussion going here. All right. Sports related, right? What's a topic that you want to hit up, or maybe you got a question, maybe you got a thought, just something that you want to throw out there. I'm all ears, baby. All right, let's do it up. Otherwise, let's get things going here this morning. Let's talk some baseball to open up things. Taking a look at this Brewers series coming up here with the St. Louis Cardinals. Maybe it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster. I know, not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago, we were kind of looking at this series like, ooh, could be a big series in terms of, who's going to win the division and such. But maybe it's lost a little bit of luster because the Brewers are up double-digit games over there. But here's the thing: don't give the Cardinals any breathing room or any sort of confidence. Just put that nail in the coffin. Win this series, move them down 13 games, behind the division, and let's go for this first place in the National League here. Let's go for this first place in the National League. So we'll start off talking some baseball, then we'll get to a little football chat coming up here as well. So first off, our first break, and then the leadoff coming up after these quick words. Anybody else getting ready for hunting season? Man, we are getting so close to spending some more time in the great outdoors. Can't hardly wait. But if you're not ready for the hunting season, it's okay. You still got a little bit of time left. But make sure that you're really ready for this upcoming hunting season. To make sure you're ready for this upcoming hunting season, you need to go visit Sean and Hunter at Tilden Gun. Whether you're getting ready for fall turkey or duck hunting or the November deer season, Tilden Gun has something for everyone. And the boys at Tilden Gun will help you find just what you're looking for if you have something specific in mind. They have the best selection in the Chippewa Valley, all at the best prices. Hey, don't believe me? You can see it for yourself by visiting tildengun.com. One of Wisconsin's biggest and best traditions is getting ready to start back up. Get ready for the upcoming hunting season by visiting Tilden Gun today at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. And don't forget, too, whether you are out on the water or just hunting or out in the great outdoors, send us those photos so we can put them up on the Tilden Gun photo board up at our website, sportstalk1051.com. Just click on the outdoors tab here. So, and speaking of the outdoors, we've got something planned up coming up in September. It's going to be a year-long sort of thing, kind of a little bit of a contest here. The Ultimate Wisconsin Outdoorsman. We're going to have an adult division. We're going to have a youth division. All right, more details to come, but essentially it's going to be like kind of like a checklist, coming up with a checklist of different outdoor activities for you to accomplish throughout the year, starting September, going through next August, because we know there's different seasons, right? Ice fishing season, deer season, summer fishing, open water. We know there's different seasons, but we're gonna have this big checklist, even like camping, hiking, skiing, whatever. And whoever accomplishes the most, whoever checks off the list the most, you could be crowned the ultimate Wisconsin outdoorsman. And it's gonna, be like, well, how do you, how do you keep tabs on that? You're gonna have to submit photos for every activity you do. So, you say you go hunting in, bow season, get a deer, send us that photo, upload that photo. Going on a camping trip, upload that photo. Going ice fishing, and you catch a walleye or something like that. Well, then you just checked off the catch a walleye during ice fishing season list. So it's going to be a big checklist. We know everybody's not going to be able to probably check off everything unless you're maybe Jake from State Farm and you live in the outdoors and that's all you do out there. But we're going to kick this off coming up in September. More details to come. I'll let you know when it's up on our website. But we're going to have a adult and a youth division over there. Should be a lot of fun. So, all right, let's get things going here this morning. Coming up on the leadoff. First off, Ben sent a text over saying, "Did you see Tom Brady picking the Packers to be a Super Bowl favorite?" I'm assuming you're talking about the clip that was on, was it Twitter? Was Stephen A? I think the question was, who's a team that can kind of dethrone or compete with the Chiefs or a team other than the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl? He mentioned the Packers, 49ers too, and I think he also threw in the Rams over there. So yeah, I did see that, sir. I did see that on social media. I'd seen a lot of Packer people kind of sharing it and tweeting it and such over there too. So, but yeah, I mean, he's not the only one, right? Interesting though that, and I don't think there's anything to it, but considering Brady's calling games on Fox, and that's the NFC, and he listed 3 teams from the NFC over there. Yeah. I don't think that was on purpose by any means, but, it is. I thought it was kind of interesting over there too. So, all right, let's talk some baseball here. But hey, keep those coming. All right, keep those questions, keep those comments or topic ideas coming. All right, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Brew Crew back in action tonight, taking on the St. Louis Cardinals after an off day yesterday. Frankie Montas is going to be on the mound for the Crew, looking for his 6th win of the season. Eric Fetty's on the mound for the Cardinals, but taking a look at both of these lineups, got some Brewers with a little bit of experience going up against Fetty. Hoskins by far has the most amount of experience going up against Erick Fedde, and Hoskins has hit him incredibly well throughout his career. 29 career at-bats. Rhys Hoskins has 3 home runs. He is hit for an average of 310, and he's got an OPS of a 1.084. So, yeah, Rhys Hoskins has to be potentially licking his chops for the game tonight going up against Fedde. Other than that, you got about a game's worth between everybody else over there. Contreras does have 8 career at-bats. Contreras, in his 8 career at-bats, dude's got 2 home runs against him in 625 average and a 2.075 OPS. The flip side, Cardinals hitters, got a couple games worth between a lot of these players here. Obviously, Frankie with Cincinnati and such, that had a lot to do with it. But, you look at a guy like Nolan Arenado going up against Frankie, 8 career at-bats, and he's hitting 375 with a home run and a 1.194 OPS. Crawford, 7 at-bats, but 0 for all across the board. Goldschmidt, 8 at-bats, 125 batting average, 398 OPS. So everybody else is, again, a game or a couple games worth over there. But I think the big one out there is Rhys Hoskins and his numbers going up against Erick Fedde. So hopefully that means we're in line for a Rhys Hoskins game tonight here. And Erick Fedde is going to be looking to bounce back from his recent performance against the Reds, where it was a loss. 6 innings, 4 earned runs on 6 hits. And so far in the month of August, in his 3 games that he has pitched for the Cardinals, he is 1-2 with a 5.63 ERA. His best outing coming on his second game that he pitched for the Cardinals back on August 7th, where he picked up the win, went 5 innings, 4 hits, just 1 earned run, and didn't give up any home runs. Other than that, the other 2 games, he won his first game going up against the Cubbies, 5 innings, 5 earned runs, gave up a couple home runs, and then this game against Cincinnati, this previous game against Cincinnati, 6 innings, 4 earned runs, 2 home runs. So maybe not going the way, and I know it's only 3 games right now, but obviously the Cardinals making some moves at the trade deadline, trying to add on to make that push to get in the postseason right now. And Erick Fedde hasn't, in these 3 games, hasn't gone that great. 2 out of the 3 at least haven't gone that great. So hopefully the Brewers bats can take advantage of this, and maybe we can have a performance like he had against the Cubs and the Reds over there too. So, and when you look at it, I mean, he's been pretty darn consistent throughout the whole season. I know some of these numbers too, considering the team he played on, the White Sox. He didn't get a whole lot of help. But when you look at it, I mean, in the month of April, he was 2-0 with a 2.40 ERA in 5 games. May, in 6 games, he was 2-1 with a 3.63 ERA. June, 5 games, 1-2 with a 3.48 ERA. July, in 4 games, 2-1 with a 2.53 ERA. So, I mean, he's been pretty darn consistent leading up until August, when he was acquired by the Cardinals. So maybe it throws out the question, which version of Erick Fedde are we going to get tonight? Hopefully it's the version that has been maybe struggling here a little bit, and the Brewers bats can take advantage of that. Frankie Montas, meanwhile, he's coming off of back-to-back games with no decisions. His previous one on the 14th against the Dodgers, where he went 5 innings, no earned runs, did strike out 6, 5 hits in that contest. But when we look at the job that he has done since he has been with the Brewers, he's also 3 games with the Brewers. This is his 4th start with his new team, same as Erick Fedde here. But in his 3 games with the Brewers, Frankie Montas has been 1-0 with a 3.86 ERA in the month of August. He has given up 3 earned runs, 3 earned runs, no earned runs. 2 total home runs, 1 in each in his first 2 games. But his strikeout numbers are kind of about the 5, 7, and 6 over there. So did he kind of, and he hasn't been like, gosh, awful. In his first start against Washington, when he gave up 3 earned runs, he did pick up the win. And that was his lone win so far. That second game against Atlanta, he pitched 4 innings, 3 earned runs, gave up a home run, but he issued 4 walks. He had 7 strikeouts, but he issued 4 walks. And when you look at some of his numbers throughout this season, I mean, there's been some games where he's maybe struggled a little bit with the control, and he's issued some high walk numbers there. Going back to April, he had a game 5 walks on there. And it's almost kind of like he's had maybe a game or 2 a month where the walks have been kind of an issue for him coming up here. But I think we're waiting for that one Frankie Montas game. And I know it's only been 3 games with the Brewers, but that one game, kind of like what we saw this past weekend against Cleveland, where, you had Aaron Savali going out there 6 innings and pitching really well. Freddie Peralta, 6 innings. Colin Ray with his 7. I think what I want to see now from Frankie Montas is, okay, can you go out there for 6 innings? Can you, maybe only give up a run, ideally none, but let's beggars be choosers here. But just have that quality start, have that solid outing out there where you're putting your team in a position to win, and you're not issuing some free bases. You're not issuing a bunch of walks out there. And his last couple games, that's kind of been an issue with him. Didn't issue any walks in that first game against Washington, but he gave up 9 hits. But his last 2 games, it's been 4 walks and 3 walks. Can we just have that complete game now from Frankie? That 6 innings, low walk number, low amount of hits, just a quality start. Just a quality start, a really solid start. Because, we're entering this final quarter of the regular season here. We got a Brewers team that's not only competing for a division championship, but a Brewers team that is in contention and competing for that top spot in the National League. So, I mean, you're going to be doing some scoreboard watching and you're competing for that. But you're also kind of like, this is for guys like Frankie Montas and Aaron Savali and maybe a DL Hall or whoever. You're kind of competing also for that final spot in that potential playoff rotation. For all the ups and downs and maybe the consistencies of Freddie Peralta this year, he's going to be one of the starters. Colin Ray is going to be one of the starters. Tobias Myers is going to be one of the starters. So if you go with a 4-man rotation, it's kind of a competition now between the rest of those guys, the Aaron Savalis, the Frankie Montases, maybe the DL Halls or whoever, to see who's going to be that 4th one. Or maybe it's bullpen combination of everything in there, But to maybe make the decision harder or, in a sense, easier for Pat Murphy and the team, if one of these guys like a Frankie or an Aaron Savali could go out there and just be dominant and throw some quality starts, throw some good innings, start to stack some success, go out there and prove that you should be a part of that rotation when it comes to playoff time. So that's what I want to see from Frankie tonight. 4 start as a Brewer. We've seen some glimpses of some really good stuff from him. Let's put it together now. Let's have a quality start and start to build upon that. Let's start to see a little bit of competition. This is a good problem to have. I want this problem when we get to the postseason or when we get set for the postseason. When we have to throw out the question, when we get to that point in September and we're talking about it like who should be that 4 starter. And it's for good reasons, not like, oh crap, who are we stuck with for that 4 starter? I want to have a conversation of like, okay, these guys have been really good. Which one of these guys deserves to be in that playoff rotation? That's the conversation I want to have. I don't want to have that conversation of like, crap, how do we, if we get to that point where it's a 4th rotation, 4th spot in the rotation, what do we do? I want to feel good about our options here. So I want to start to see some of these, guys to start stacking success here, because really, I mean, so Frankie's making his start tonight. And when you look at the rest of the regular season here, you've got 38 games left to go. So let's say by average, you're going every 5 days, right? He's got maybe 7 between 7, 8, 6, 7, 8 starts, including tonight. I mean, it's not a small number. It's not like just a couple games left, but it's also, you're not getting 10 games to prove yourself anymore. So let's start to see it. Let's start to see a little competition. Let's start to see, this is what you'd hope, and we see it a lot in that in sports and athletics. Competition within your team rises, challenges yourself. It increases your level of competition, kind of increases your game. Like, oh, dude, I gotta up my game here now too. Aaron Savali's coming off of probably his best start as a Brewer. What do you got now, Frankie? So that's what I want to see in tonight's game, other than obviously wins. Tobias Myers is going to get starts tomorrow for the Crew. And then Thursday, we're going to get Freddie Peralta on the mound here. So even though you're 11 games ahead of the Cardinals, don't overlook it. Don't take it for granted. Don't get complacent. We still got stuff to compete for. We still got to lock down the division, right? We don't want to give them a little bit of breathing room. Cut the snake off the head, right? Cut the snake off the head. Win this series, but also you're in competition. You're in a spot right now where you can win that, or you can win that top spot in the National League. Still lots to play for this Brewers team. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get back to some more of your comments, your thoughts. What's on your mind here this morning? Let us know. Hit me up with a text, all right? We'll be back in just a few minutes. Youth sports teams, if you're looking for maybe some new gear, some new jerseys, or maybe starting to sell some swag to represent your team, look no further than our good friends at Resonance Branding Company. They can help set you up with an online store so you can sell some swag, maybe to help earn a little bit of more money, little fundraiser and such. Or if you just need to outfit your team, Resonance Branding Company can help you with that too. Just give them a visit. You can check them out on Facebook, Resonance Branding Company, or check out their website at resonancebrandingcompany.com. The official swag provider for the program over there. Was just over there yesterday, talking with the peeps over there. You can also stop in at their location at 1728 Spooner Avenue, Suite C, Altoona, Wisconsin. And speaking of, with fall and you got some another youth sports season upon us. Reminder, we wanna help. So we know league fees can get to be a little expensive these days, right? That shouldn't deter a youngster from going out there and playing a game and playing a sport that they love to play. So that's why Backyard Dreams is here. We want to help you out. So just hit me up with a message, email, reach out to me on Facebook or whatever. Facebook, it might take a little bit because I don't know why I get a bunch of spam stuff out there, but reach out and we'll see if we can help you out. All right, Backyard Dreams. That's what it's here for, and we want to make sure that everybody out there can go out there and chase their dreams and achieve their passions and all that good stuff. But we want to help. All right, and you can remain anonymous too. All right, you can remain anonymous. So just reach out. Don't be shy. All right, don't be shy. Don't be too nervous. Okay, we got about 15 minutes, 14 minutes to the top of the hour here this morning. A couple of texts to catch up on here regarding the Brewers here. Definitely, this is from Sam. Sam says, definitely looking forward for this final quarter of the regular season to see how the rest of the starting pitching staff shapes out. I'm really curious to see who's going to get that fourth spot when it comes to a playoff rotation, or does Pat Murphy opt to go with an all hands on deck kind of a bullpen approach and combine Frankie Savali and DL Hall? Another text. This is from Jeff. Jeff saying, definitely want to see a little bit more from Frankie Montas. He hasn't been awful, but he hasn't been great since the Brewers acquired him. Hopefully, tonight he can kind of put it all together. Another texter here. Don't have a name, but texter saying, I hope the Brewers don't overlook the Cardinals tonight. Don't give them any breathing room. Don't get too complacent. Don't look at complacent's kind of been the word of the last few days here. Don't look at standings. Don't read your own headlines. Continue to play with that chip on your shoulder. The Brewers too are the only team in Major League Baseball this year to not lose 4 in a row. Think about that. They haven't won or haven't lost 4 games in a row yet this season. That's pretty darn impressive when you look. I mean, we're 3/4 of the way through this season. And it's not to say that they haven't had any like down sprouts or anything like that, but they haven't lost 4 in a row. So like when they've gotten to 3, they've won 1 and then maybe they've lost a couple after that, but they've never had a 4-game losing streak, 4 or more game losing streak. Super impressive. Keep that going. Let's not have that in the final quarter of the regular season. So I like it. A little fun nugget for you here on this Tuesday morning. Saw Buster Olney just tweeted this out. Race for the best record in the American League. Yankees 73-52, Guardians 72-52, Baltimore 73-53, Twins 70-55, Royals 70-55, Astros. Astros are a team that's hot right now. Remember the Astros beginning of the year was like one of the most disappointing teams in all of Major League Baseball. Now they're in the conversation of a race for the best record in the American League. I mean, come on now. But that's the American League. You look at the National League here. So the American League has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with at least 70 wins or more. National League has that too. But the National League here, you've got Philadelphia 73-51. Dodgers are 74-52. Philly holds on to a very, very, very slight lead because of win percentage. Brewers, though, are just one game back, 72-52. You got the Padres, 71-55. Arizona, 70-56. So the Padres and the Diamondbacks definitely not making things comfortable for the Dodgers in that NL West race. Got some good chases coming up here, good races for that top spot, both in the National League and the American League. I think Major League Baseball likes this. Yeah, I think they like it too. So, all right, we'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up a little bit later on, but more of your thoughts, you can let me know. Hit me up with that text or comment on the video stream. We're going to talk a little green and gold coming up in the next hour. James on the video stream saying, what's grinding my gears? Fans who think the Packers season is lost because of one bad week at practice. Now is when you want to get your bad football out of your system. Take a deep breath, everyone. We'll hit that up and talk a little bit about that coming up in the next hour and such. Also, don't forget, throw in your grind my gears too. You know, what's grinding your gears? 1 week from today, we will know who is on this Packers team. The initial 53-man roster. The initial 53-man roster. NFL teams must cut down to get to 53 players on an active roster a week from today. Jobs are on the line for this game coming up on Saturday. Not to be over dramatic or anything like that for a preseason game, but when you look at it, this might be the last football game for some of these guys' careers. This might be the last chance for some of these guys to live out their dreams, to win a job, to be on a NFL roster here. And when I look at it from a Green Bay sense, again, how many jobs are actually on the line for Green Bay? Defensively, I don't think there's really, and I'm talking the initial 53. I don't want to talk about like practice squad because then you're really opening up a lot of stuff there. But I don't think there's really any jobs open on the defensive line. Safety, I don't think. I mean, you've got a competition, I think, between Evan Williams and Bullard for playing time this year. But in terms of who you're keeping, I don't see a lot of openings over there. Linebacker, maybe a back end guy on there if you're keeping for special teams or something. But really, I don't see a whole lot there. Corner, maybe a spot between Kalen King and Corey Ballentine. Definitely some jobs, I think, for offensive line depth. Who's going to be the guys that win this thing out? And, you know, you're looking at running back and then the back end of the wide receiver one too. So this is the last chance, last impression for a lot. How many times have we talked about every preseason? There's that one guy that maybe goes out there and just absolutely balls out. That absolutely balls out and has himself a final preseason game, and then he ends up winning a job. Desmond Howard was like that for Green Bay. Ron Wolf talked about that for the final game. Remember Jaron Elliott, I think, was like that for the Packers a little bit too. Kind of balled out in his final game, maybe the final couple games. But there's always, seems like almost every year, I won't say every year, but almost every year, where there's one player that just kind of has the game of their life, and that's what gets them on the roster. And I don't know who that player could be. Maybe I got to think it's maybe somebody from maybe a receiver. Maybe one of those final spots for the receiver depth. Because again, I think 4 are locked. 4 are locked in that receiver spot. Christian, Romeo, Dontavian, and Jaden. Question is are they going to keep 6, 5, 7? I don't think they keep 5. I think they keep 6. But we'll hit that up a little bit more coming up in the next hour and such. Also, we'll talk some college football. College football season officially kicks off this weekend. We got Saturday games. We got 4 Saturday games. Florida State at Georgia Tech, Montana State at New Mexico, SMU at Nevada, Delaware State at Hawaii. So college football officially kicks off this weekend. Then a big time slate coming up on Thursday, and then we know the Badgers play next Friday when they welcome Western Michigan to Camp Randall. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk some Badgers with Mr. R.J. Cardinal coming up in about a little over an hour and a half or so. We know Tyler Van Dyke officially named the starter late last week, which shouldn't be a big surprise to anybody. I mean, it was set up for that. It was set up that way. So, but we'll talk about that with RJ and get the latest on what he's hearing before the Badgers open up their season next week. And think about what your expectations for this upcoming Badger football season is going to be. Very tough schedule. Expanded conference. Expanded college football playoff. Oh, yeah. Going to be a lot of fun. All right. We only got a couple minutes to the top here. A couple more texts regarding the Brewers here. We got Greg saying, can't wait for this final quarter of the regular season for the Brewers. Excited to see how much they beat the Cardinals and Cubs by in the division race, and excited to see if they can catch the Dodgers and the Phillies for first place in the National League. Steve from Eau Claire, as awesome of a season as the Brewers are having and as much fun as they've been to watch this year, I need to see them take at least 2 out of 3 against the Phillies before I'm convinced we have a shot at the World Series. They swept us at Philly earlier this year, but we seem to be hitting our stride at the right time, and I think splitting last week's Dodger series was a big help in that regard. But we will probably be facing Philly at some point in the playoffs, and they will always seem to give us headaches. So I need to see us win that September series against them before I feel really good about our World Series chances. All right, a couple minutes to the top. Good morning, Morgs.
Well, good morning. What's the good word in here today? Something smells good.
Probably my coffee.
Yeah. What do you have in there? Cotton candy?
Caramel.
Oh,
like
yeah.
A caramel vanilla one.
That smells good.
Yeah.
I can see it over here. So you got your Express shirt on today. When was the last game you got to go to?
Oh, it was just a couple weeks ago.
We just did a fan deck. My family did a little fan deck thing. It was nice to be out and see them win for that too.
Yeah. Fell a little bit short of the postseason, but it was a fun second half.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So now are you personally ready to gear up for football season yet, or is it still too early?
Oh no. Once August rolls around, put the golf clubs away.
It's not weather dependent for you. It doesn't have to get a little cooler and feel like football first. You're more of a calendar guy.
Yep.
But you don't take the 227 loss too hard when it's this early in. Just kind of shake it off.
Yeah.
Where does Hudson Falls? He sit and watch some preseason with you or no?
A little bit. Still into baseball, but we're at football practice and such. So he's kind of transitioning in that. So
what do you think if you, as parents, had to decide what sport he's going to gravitate towards and excel in?
He's so season by season. I have no idea.
So he gets just as into every season as, because I know kids who have a passion sport, but they'll do the rest kind of just to do something, to get busy. Like, all right, I might as well do track until football rolls around, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because he didn't want to do baseball when we started baseball. Now he wants to always do baseball, but now he's getting into football. I can tell when he's starting to change, when he's like playing by himself and he's naming players.
Yeah.
And now he's naming football players.
Okay.
So I can kind of tell.
Okay.
He's transitioning into that. So once regular season, we're going to the game Saturday with him, that'll start to kind of kick into gear.
Okay. Now, does he get excited ahead of time? Like, does he get his outfits picked out? Is he a big game kid?
No.
Are you going to do Lambeau with him this year?
Yeah, we're going Saturday.
Oh, this Lambeau. Oh, okay.
Yep. And then he's going to his first regular season game in October.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
So who's that game going to be?
Texans.
All right. Now, does he have any horse in that race?
I mean, Green Bay.
If he could pick another team to watch?
Well, I asked him if he wanted to go, and then first of all, it's the whiteout one.
Okay.
So he was kind of excited about that. But then
Those are gonna be so ugly, I think. No?
I struggle. I think it would look fine as long as what bothered me was when they did it when the Bears were playing in Lambeau a couple
Okay.
years ago, because that meant the Bears were wearing their home jerseys in Lambeau, and that just felt wrong.
Yeah. That felt a little bit like a knife being twisted in the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, but these whiteout jerseys are
it's
kind of
all the
ugly.
young kids these days. So
But
yeah.
I feel like that was a kind of a misstep. Like, how did that pass the table? The
Apparently
brainstorm
Jordan Love
table?
was a big influencer on that.
Well, sell.
Second hour on this Monday morning, or Tuesday morning, not Monday. Holy moly. Oh, appreciate you tuning in and making us a part of your start on this August 20th here. We've got some Packers chat that we're going to hit up here in just a little bit. We'll get back to some more Brewers chats as well. But keep your thoughts coming. We'll hit back up and take a look at this series beginning tonight against the St. Louis Cardinals, game 1 of a 3-game series. Also, we'll talk some college football, talk some Badgers with Mr. RJ Cardinal coming up a little over an hour from now, about hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes, around 8:20, 8:25 here this morning. So the college football season officially kicks off this weekend on Saturday. And we got games already on Saturday, people. So Badgers start next Friday, though. And don't forget, high school football season kicks off Thursday. Thursday already. Man, flying on by. So we'll get to all that. Again, with RJ, it is an ASAP used auto parts, grind my gears Tuesday. What's grinding your gears? Let me know. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912, or you can hit us up on the video streams on Facebook and YouTube. I think we might start doing a little is it Twitch? The kids call it Twitch. Well, we might start to create a channel over there too. We'll see. We'll see. I want to begin this hour though too. Just so Thursday we're going to be talking with author Ian O'Connor. We've talked to him before in the past. Ian O'Connor, who has written so many sports biographies. We had him on with his Belichick biography, unauthorized biography, unofficial biography a couple of years ago. But today is the release of his Aaron Rodgers book, Out of the Darkness. You've probably seen some of the quotes coming from this book in the last week or so. I had a chance to get an advanced copy. I've read it, and I'll tell you right now, it gives you. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is a guy that, especially in the last few years, I think Packers fans have asked the question, what happened? It's just we've seen a change, I think, in a personality, or maybe we got to start to see the real Aaron. But what I'll say this about Ian's book. You read it and you go back to his youth and his college days, and maybe it kind of makes a little bit more sense from what we have seen and heard these last few years from Aaron Rodgers. That kind of makes sense. Gives you a little bit of a background story. Gives you a little bit of a feel. So interesting tidbits, definitely surrounding his time with Green Bay. Definitely seemed like his first interactions with Favre were maybe a little bit more, shall I say, not great. We knew it wasn't great. We knew it was a little bit of a frosty relationship, but this kind of paints a picture of it actually being maybe a little bit more frosty than what it was. So, but it's definitely worth the read. It gets released today. Books A Millions here in Eau Claire is going to have it. Otherwise, Amazon's up there too. But we're going to be chatting with Ian on Thursday to talk about that, and I've got a few questions lined up for him. But I wanted to throw this out there. If you've got a question, because I realize not everybody gets a chance to maybe ask somebody a question. So if you have a question that you would like to ask Ian O'Connor when we talk to him on Thursday, I'll select one or two. I'll select a couple, okay? So if you got a question that you want to ask him about his Aaron Rodgers book, and he did talk to Aaron, all right? So he did have a conversation with Aaron. He went to Aaron's house in California and discussed it with him and all that. So, I mean, it's not like he didn't chat with Aaron and all that sort of stuff. So if you have a question, so you don't have to text it to me today right away. Just think about it a little bit, and I'll select one or two if we get some good ones out there. But if you had a question that you would like to ask Ian, then I can ask it on Thursday. I want to throw that opportunity out for all of you to kind of maybe get a question answered. Maybe it was something about his time in Green Bay or as a kid or anything like that. Because really, when you think about it, I mean, Rodgers, ever since he's been in Green Bay, there's just been some. I can't think of another athlete that, and maybe it's just because of social media, the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs of one Aaron Charles Rodgers to come in and, the whole Favre thing. And then it's like you get a Super Bowl and then you get the McCarthy stuff. And then you get, Greg Jennings and Jermichael Finley, kind of saying stuff about him. And then, it's all across the board. So a lot of interesting stuff in there. If you're a reader or you just want to know a little bit more, it's definitely worth your time. It's an easy read too. It's a very easy read. It flows through really nicely. So, but yeah, you got it. Hit me up with a text. Think about it for a little bit. I want to throw that opportunity out to you all. All right. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Speaking of the pack, speaking of the Packers, we're getting set for the final preseason game. The nightmare for maybe some football fans out there. The end of the preseason is coming up this weekend. Final game on Saturday. Packers will have a joint practice with the Ravens before that game, though. They're going to have a joint practice. Well, first of all, they have a practice today at 2:30, and then they'll have that joint practice on Thursday with Baltimore. So today's practice, the only one that they changed it up, everything else has been 10:30. Last week they changed the time to 2:30. So today's practice 2:30 afternoon, and then Thursday, if you plan on going over there, that one is open to the public. If you want to see Ravens kind of get some practice in and such, that is at 10:30. So we're going to hear from LaFleur later on today. Maybe get some injury updates, and I'm sure he's probably going to be asked about, how he feels about where his team's at right now, because that has been a big discussion point amongst Packers fans, at least on social media, and writers who cover the team. After 1 week, after this Denver week, it's almost like Denver broke the Packers, for crying out loud, for some Packers fans out there. Whether it was the joint practice that apparently, Denver won the day there. And then we saw the game on Sunday where no starters played. But now you've got people like saying, oh boy, is Green Bay in trouble here a little bit? Or should we be concerned about? Do they have some issues? It's fair to say that maybe there's some question marks surrounding the backup quarterback position. It's fair to say that there's maybe some concerns with your backup tackles. It's fair to say stuff like that. But I also think let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and start pushing the red panic button here a little bit. Say this team is doomed. Okay? A lot of teams, and I think it's also fair to say that, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen, but knock on wood, the Packers miss a bunch of starters due to injury, or if Jordan Love misses time due to injury, yeah, the team's probably not going to be that great. They're probably not going to win a ton of games. Same could be said for a lot of teams that way. But it's also fair to say you'd like a little bit more depth. But really, when it comes to the offensive line, you have a good one or you have a solid one, chances are you're going to be probably getting a nice payday somewhere or starting somewhere. Offensive linemen are a big commodity in the NFL. I think Green Bay's got a solid starting unit. I think there's one. I think there's maybe the right guard is the biggest one out there with Sean Rhyan and Jordan Morgan. And I say that because we haven't seen the rookie yet. We haven't seen Jordan Morgan outside of practice. But he's been hurt, dealing with a shoulder injury. And at this point, I don't know if you can open up the season against Philadelphia with Jordan Morgan being your starting right guard. I think it's Sean Rhyan. I think you have to open it up with Sean Rhyan, because we have not seen Jordan Morgan out there. Maybe we'll see him on Saturday against Baltimore, but will that be enough to throw him out there as a starter right away? I don't think we're going to see Jordan Morgan be the starter. I think we're going to see your starting offensive line be Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Ryan, and Zach Tom. Then after that, it's like I feel better about the interior offensive line depth than I do about the outside tackles. And I think right now, maybe, and I know they kind of did it a little bit last week, but you're going to have to prepare Morgan, I think, to play some time at tackle. You know, he was a college tackle. He came in, and when he was drafted, Packers said they're going to give him a chance to play tackle. But then it was like, okay, they really focused on interior line, that right guard spot, because that was a starting spot opened up. Now, with maybe some depth issues at tackle, I think you got to make sure you get that guy some work at tackle, because if something happens to one of your tackles, maybe Jordan Morgan is the best option to go out there and throw him at tackle over the likes of some of these other dudes. But with 1 week left for teams to cut their rosters down, with 1 week left to go here, what do you think is what or who do you think will be the toughest decision that Goody, LaFleur, the front office, coaching staff, whoever has to make, whether it's a position group or whether it's between a couple players? What do you think is going to be the most difficult decision? Is it going to be the depth of offensive line, or maybe the lack thereof depth? And like, okay, how are we going to figure out who's going to be our best options besides our starters or our top 6 offensive linemen? Or is it the final maybe 2 spots from the wide receivers with that group over there? Because I think it's 6. I don't think it's 5 or 7. I think they keep 6. And I think it's going to be between Bo Melton. It's going to be between Malik Keith. It's going to be Grant, the boy. I don't think Toure is going to be on there, but I think you got to throw him in there just because he's been around for a few years. So, I mean, if there's 4 guys and 2 spots, who are the 2 guys? Or is it somewhere else on this team? What do you think? Hit me up with a message, all right? Think about that for a little bit, and we'll get to a couple texts before we take a break here. Back to the green and gold. This is from Jim. What grinds my gears is a lot of people freaking out about one preseason week here. While I appreciate the passion from Packers fans and the enthusiasm and the high expectations for this team this year, let's cool it down after just a couple of days over there in Denver. Another text. This one is coming from Jason here this morning on that Shoot Actors bullpen line. With regards to fans freaking out about the Packers last week, I guess that would be a grind my gears here. I wish media people from the national side and some Packers fans on social media would just chill down. We're such a instant reaction type of fan base that we live with every single day of practice. I don't know if this is a little talk to text, where we live with every single day of practice, and we live off of constant updates that our emotions are all over the place all the time when it comes to the Packers. Okay. One more text here. This one is from Benjamin. What up, Benjamin? Says, what up, Dan? Grind my gears would definitely be people freaking out about the Packers' performance last week. I think you summed it up nicely. Yes, it's okay to question some of the depth, especially at offensive line, but let's not call it a season after a stupid preseason game and one joint practice in Denver. Come on, people. All right, there you go. So it seems like, at least from our listeners, the people who chime in, and that's good to see. It seems like a majority of our listeners out there are not freaking out about Green Bay and this practice and such. So, all right, let's take a quick break here. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. We've got Joe to talk a little green and gold with us. Don't forget to think about that question, though, too. All right. If you could ask a question, Ian, what would it be? All right. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Not sure if you could tell from all the fall decor and all those Halloween decorations that are already flooding our social media feeds and such, but fall is almost upon us and pumpkin spice season. Wife's excited about that. So while the leaves may start to fall or around here soon, temperatures dropping, leaves falling. It looks beautiful out there. But that also means you should fall on into Carpet City Flooring Center and finally update that flooring game of yours in your home. Hey, maybe it's time for you to put together that man cave for the upcoming football season. Or maybe you want to remodel that bedroom or living room or change out the shower tile in your bathroom. Whatever it may be, honor the changing of the seasons by changing up your flooring style. Just head to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and let the team there help you accomplish your flooring dreams. And maybe to get into the mood for this changing of the season, try out some Rigid Max flooring that would look great to give you that fall hardwood looking feel in your space. So fall on in to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and upgrade that flooring game of yours. And also don't forget with the upcoming football season, get ready for the season with Hy-Vee. Whether you're tailgating at the game or having a party at your home, Hy-Vee has all the essentials you need for game day, from meats to put on the grills, snacks and beverages, including their huge wine and spirits department. Hy-Vee is your tailgating headquarters. And don't forget to check out their sports shop too, where you can get some swag to help cheer on your favorite team. It's football season. Score a touchdown with all of your football needs with Hy-Vee in Eau Claire today. All right, chatting a little green and gold. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Captain. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am living the dream.
Yeah?
Absolutely. You know what? First of all, I got to tell you, had your new man cave light this weekend.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It is delicious. Both my wife and I had a couple, and we were like, this is really good beer.
Yeah.
Not that we were expecting anything but the best, but very tasty.
Yeah, Bent Paddle. They do a really good job over there. So big thanks to Bent Paddle in Duluth for being the new Man Cave Lights
and
producers.
Since we have Friday Night Lights, speaking of sponsors of yours, coming up this Friday night, it is a tradition of mine after football games with Eau Claire Memorial to head over to another one of your sponsors. I'll be at the Elbow Room on Friday night after Eau Claire Memorial. Hopefully beats Hudson. There we go.
There you go. So Friday nights or Thursday night actually kicks off for a lot of teams too. So
it's
just
the best time of the year. It is the absolute best time of the year. But I know Packer fans feel that maybe right now they shouldn't think about their professional football team because of what happened Sunday night.
Yeah. At least some of our fans are saying chill out, people, on a Grind My Gears Tuesday, which I'm glad to hear that. So but what would you say to the social media keyboard warriors out there who are freaking out about not only the game on Sunday, but maybe that joint practice that Broncos, it seemed like they had the upper hand at, and I think that kind of feeds into everything out there too.
Yeah, no injuries. That's what you want, and you have two teams, Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, and Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers, trying to accomplish different things. All right, you have a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix and Sean Payton trying to get back to the playoffs since 2015 with that Bronco team. And you have a Packer club that truly is considered a contender. And so you approach the offseason differently. And so, I'm not as concerned about it. Great article this morning, Green Bay Press Gazette. Eric Baranchek, one of the guys that I follow, who I think really watches the game from an X's and O's standpoint, put the qualifier in there and said, look, you have to understand what both teams are trying to accomplish. And if you want to ring your championship bell in the preseason, go for it. But I'm holding off on any consternation until the regular season starts. So it is what it is. It was not good. It showed lack of depth at the offensive line. It showed there might be an issue at the backup quarterback situation. But as far as taking anything you learned in this preseason and saying, well, this is the reason why they're going to be a sub 500 team, doesn't work that way.
So how do you approach, we asked this yesterday and majority said they want to see it. How do you approach this Saturday? Matt LaFleur last week said that starters wouldn't play in that game, that he got more out of joint practices, or they would get more work out of the joint practice. You got a joint practice again on Thursday with Baltimore, and then the game on Saturday. Should starters play in this game knowing that there's a bye week essentially the following week?
It's a tough one. You want your team firing on all cylinders no matter who's in there, and you don't want to have injuries. And that's the biggest thing with the preseason. I always look at the injury list after games like this or joint practices. And so that's a tough one. If I were Matt LaFleur, I would say yes. I think not all of them.
Right.
I still don't think Jordan Love needs to play. But I think some other guys getting some reps would not be a bad thing. So I would, 31 guys did not suit up in the game against the Broncos. I would cut that number in about half and run with it from that standpoint. You still have some position battles that you have to look for. You still have some other things you have to look for. Sean Ryan, for example, looked good at center on Sunday night in his snaps. I thought Tyron Hopper did a nice job at linebacker, and he might force his way on the field. And so you still got to see some of those things. But I would bring some of the starters back and play them this week, but not all. I know that's I'm kind of hedging my bets on this one, but if I were Matt LaFleur, that's what I would do.
Does some of it though depend on maybe how Thursday's practice goes too? If it's a little bit of a down day for the offense, let's say, and Jordan Love, do you throw him out there for a series or two?
Yeah, I thought about that too. That you kind of wait and see how Thursday does. But if you're a player, I think you need to know sooner than Thursday if you're going to be suiting up for a game on the weekend. That's just me. And again, I look at it from a high school coach standpoint, and I think a lot of things translate from high school all the way up. But I think if you're a player, getting in that mindset that you're going to be playing this week, if you're healthy, you're going to be playing this week. I think letting them know ahead of after Thursday's practice is the appropriate thing to do. I think it's getting your body right for that game. I think it's going through a regular week of practice. I think there is something to be said about, hey, you're playing Saturday, get your mind right. And so I would say that they need to know before the end of Thursday's practice.
Has Anders won the job with the way Greg Joseph is kicking right now?
I don't know if the Green Bay Packer kicker is on this roster. Now, again, this goes back to Sean Clifford as well. Does Anders have a leg up, pun intended, because he was drafted by Goody? Yes. There's no question. Same thing with Sean Clifford. Sean Clifford was a draft choice, Brian Gutekunst. So there is something to be said. And Goody especially, I think he does lean on his draft choices a little bit. That's where I think he's got a little bit of that Ted Thompson as opposed to the Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf was able to cut bait a little bit sooner. So I think right now, if you're saying matchup between the two, if Greg Joseph hits that on Sunday night, he probably wins it. And that was a makeable kick. Now, again, I didn't see the whole operation, and you've got other guys in there, et cetera, but that's a makeable kick. So that's a kick an NFL kicker needs to make. So at this point, I would give the upper edge, the winning edge, if you will, to Anders by a slight edge. I mean, if you look at it, they're both at about 82% for camp. And so there's not anyone right now who took that job and ran with it. And so 82%, not horrible. But if Greg Joseph comes out and kicks that field goal Sunday night and gets that, and there's some momentum and et cetera, I think he wins it. But right now, I don't know if the Green Bay Packer kicker is on the roster. If I were to make a prediction, I would say it's Anders Carlson.
Wide receiver, assuming they keep 6, I think it's safe to say there's 4 locks: Dontavian, Christian, Romeo, and Jane Reed.
Yep.
Say they keep 6. I don't think they keep 7. I know they have, but I mean, I don't think they keep 6 or 7 at this point.
Right.
And say it's between these 4. Who are the 2 leaders you think right now? Because Grant had a great game in the first one.
Yep.
Malik Heath, I mean, there wasn't a lot to like, but he was the leading receiver in the second game. And we know he, leg up last year, and he's a dirty work guy. He likes to block on the edge.
Yep.
Touré's had a lot of chances. He hasn't really, jumped out and really taken advantage of it. Or is it
Bo Melton?
Bo Melton.
So I would go Bo Melton and Grant DuBose. Malik Heath and Grant DuBose are, in my opinion, the same receiver. All right. And Bo Melton, even though he's not had a good camp, showed up last year when the Green Bay Packers needed him. And you can't teach, you can, but not to a certain extent. You can't teach 4.3 speed. And so Bo Melton is a different type of player. Now, Christian Watson, of course, has that 4.3 speed, but he's also 6'3", built differently than a Bo Melton. So I think right now it's Grant DuBose and it's Bo Melton. I will say this, as far as another position battle, if Royce Newman gets any more snaps, that's going to put me over the edge. Not the total Green Bay Packers showing from Sunday night. It's why does Royce Newman get so many snaps? I mean, I'm turning into Jerry Seinfeld on Sunday night saying to myself, why is he out there? It's crazy because that guy has regressed so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about functional strength. He gets pushed back on every play.
Mm-hmm. There's your example of maybe GM Goody holding on to a draft pick a little bit too long.
No question.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no question. So yeah, the bottom line with preseason is you want to get out of there with your main players not getting injuries, and you want to get some of your depth taken care of. Look, with 31 guys held out, 31 from Sunday night held out, do you think any of those guys are worried about their position?
No.
Or being on the team? Absolutely not.
That's why the A.J. Dillon conversation after week 1, I think, was way over the top, too.
Absolutely. I mean, look, if Green Bay comes out and lays an egg against Philadelphia and looks flat, then there's some concerns on the operation in the offseason. One of the things you and I have talked about, how is this team going to handle having the target on their back, rather being the hunted rather than the hunter? And so, I don't necessarily think the Sunday night showing was a bad thing. Sometimes you need to be humbled before and take that step back before you can move forward.
Who's the defensive player that'll benefit the most with Jeff Hafley, you think?
Starter?
Yes.
Kenny Clark.
Yeah,
without question. I've always thought he is a much better 4-down lineman with his hand in the dirt rather than playing over the nose. And again, gap control, gap penetration, two different types of defenses. Kenny Clark was there to allow the linebackers to make plays. And in this new defense, Kenny Clark is now penetrating into a gap. And so you're going to see a much more, I think, disruptive Kenny Clark. And I think he is a natural 4-3 defensive tackle. And so I think he's the guy that you're going to see out there that is going to be able to take that next step up. And of course, the Packers put their money where their mouths were. Before this season of Kenny Clark, they went out and re-signed him to a big deal. So I think he's the guy that benefits the most.
Who's the Desmond Howard, Jaron Elliott that has a awesome game on Saturday and wins a job, do you think?
You know what? I'll say this. I'm going to continue. I always talk about stacking practices, stacking plays, stacking games. I think Tyron Hopper. I think the more I looked at him Sunday night, it was a downhill, explosive linebacker. And everyone thought Edgerrin Cooper coming in, he was going to be the guy. And he's been out the last 2 weeks with the hip injury. Tyron Hopper did not play against Cleveland because I believe an ankle. And he comes out and he just looked explosive. So I thought he did really well. And if he stacks another game like that, I think you could see him getting some reps with the defense. There's a guy you thought, special teamer, et cetera, et cetera. There's a guy I think that gets reps. If he shows up this week, he gets reps in the regular season on that defense.
Speaking of showing up this week, we haven't seen Jordan Morgan at all this preseason yet. Does that mean Sean Ryan will open up the season as the starting right guard, do you think?
Based on what was happening before Morgan injured the shoulder, I say no. I think that
even with no reps in these games,
you saw enough. At least the Packers coaching staff did. It seemed at that point when he got injured, he was the starting right guard. And the ability of Sean Ryan now to get some snaps at center probably gives him it's a negative and it's a positive, because if he can play across the line, now you've got that utility guy as backup. And so I'd say Jordan Morgan is that right guard to start the season.
If he's healthy.
If he's healthy. Yeah, if he's cleared. If he's cleared medically. If not, there's no reason. Sean Ryan has starter's experience in this league, so you go with him. But I think if he's healthy, he's your starter.
How important, though, is it to get Jordan Morgan reps at tackle now, since, training camp's been all guard, essentially, because of that concern at depth at tackle?
I don't think they swing him out there. I think at this point, when they made the move and he got all the reps in practices at that right guard position, I think they've committed to him as that right guard. And so that's another position. They've got to figure out who that swing tackle is going to be. And he might not be on this roster either. There are guys out there that have played in this league that can play that swing tackle position. Green Bay has shown that over the years that they can bring a guy in and he can play that. Dennis Kelly a couple of years ago was that guy, and so there's going to be guys available, especially after cut down, that have played in this league and can play that swing tackle. Billy Turner was actually in Green Bay, I believe, last week. Pictures of him and images of him basically talking to Gutekunst. So there's a guy that, would you take a flyer on him and bring him in? I would. Absolutely. Knows the program, knows the players. I'd bring him in a heartbeat if you needed to go out of the current room to get that swing tackle.
How many running backs do they keep? Matt Schneidman only has 3 and not Emmanuel Wilson on his latest 53.
Yeah, I everyone loves Emmanuel Wilson, and I think this kid can play. I do. But it really depends on Marshawn Lloyd. If he's healthy, they keep 3 and Emmanuel Wilson is off. If he starts the season on IR, and there's new rules now that you can put a guy on IR and bring him back if you do it at cut down. And so Marshawn Lloyd could potentially, in my opinion, start off on IR. At that point, Emmanuel Wilson still makes this team. But I think you saw too much of Marshawn Lloyd not to bring him in and have him be a big part of this offense, especially later on in the year. So I think 3. Josh Jacobs, I think A.J. Dillon, and I think it's either Lloyd or Wilson, one of the two.
I feel like for all the flack that is being directed towards A.J. Dillon, we haven't really seen what his role is going to be on this offense yet.
Yeah, you and I talked a lot about this guy it might be a little bit more of that flex position, that H-back position. And so especially Henry Pearson didn't get through camp very far until the Packers decided to cut him. And so I agree with you. And look, you're not going to show your deck of cards in the preseason as far as offensively what you're looking to do. There's just no reason to give other people to give the Philadelphia Eagles tape on what you're doing in the preseason. So I agree with you. I think the A.J. Dillon talk after game 1 was exaggerated. And I think the bottom line for me is when he didn't suit up Sunday, he's on the 53 without a question. And right now, he's the number 2.
Safeties, Evan Williams, Bullard, a lot of talk going back and forth. John Kuhn even mentioned that we might even see all 3 safeties on the field during the regular season when you add in Xavier McKinney. So if it's 3 safeties, that means nickel corners out. Who do you think at season's end is one of those safeties playing more than Keyshawn Nixon on the defense?
Well, according to Keyshawn, he's the nickel.
Yeah.
So, if you follow him on I still call it Twitter, and I'm going to continue to call it Twitter.
If you can type in twitter.com and it goes to that, it's still Twitter.
It's still Twitter, exactly. So if you listen to Keyshawn, he's the nickel. Look, competition is good. I don't care what position you're in. Competition is good. And I think one of the mistakes they made last year with Anders Carlson was no competition. And there's competition this year in droves. I mean, they've got obviously Greg Joseph, but they brought other kickers in on a regular basis. So yes, to answer your question, yes, you are going to see more of those 2 young safeties out there. Evan Williams is just a smart football player.
Micah Hyde-ish, right?
No doubt. And if Micah Hyde would have been put in the right position after they drafted him, he probably goes on to an all-pro career with the Packers rather than with the Bills. And so, yeah, he's just a smart football player. And then the explosiveness of Bullard. You love to see that. So the Packers have flexibility, and there's no question. I think you're going to see defenses out there. You're going to see certain schemes or certain situations where all 3 of those guys are out there, and all 3 are going to be capable of playing pretty much anywhere on the field. So defensive flex, you always talk about flexibility on the offense. I think you got guys who can play multiple positions on defense. You can do so many things to confuse an OC. And so, yeah, I think those 2 guys, Williams and Bullard, I think they're going to be part of the core moving forward. Now, again, preseason, we talked about this, translating to the regular season. It doesn't translate all the time. So it remains to be seen. But on paper, what we've seen, what we know, it says good things to come for those guys.
And I think what helps them, too, is that their defensive coordinator is a secondary coach by nature.
Yep, 100%.
Where he can use that versatility. He's got that experience and being that defensive backs coach.
Yeah, no question. When your coordinator has experience coaching a position, I think that speaks volumes to what that position becomes. And so I think that is a huge advantage for all of these guys. I think Eric Stokes coming back from the injuries and maybe getting to that rookie form that showed he might be a significant corner in this league. I think he's going to benefit from it. So anybody in that secondary, whether it be safety, whether it be your nickel back, whether it be the outside corners, they're going to benefit.
Mm-hmm. Any concern about how quiet it's been with the tight ends in camp so far?
No, because in the joint practices, before Jordan Love's arm got hurt or hit, I should say, not hurt. He was, I believe, 6 for 7 or 7 for 8. The offense was rolling, and he was looking at Musgrave a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and of course, Tucker Kraft, just coming back from the pec injury. No, I'm not concerned at all. And again, going back to it, Matt LaFleur isn't showing the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Behind closed doors, the installs that are going on, knowing that he's got these receivers, these tight ends, Josh Jacobs, you're not seeing what Matt LaFleur's offense is going to look like. It's good, and you're not. And again, from game 1 to game 2, it's going to evolve. From game 2 to game 3, it's going to evolve. So it's very vanilla. So when you talk about, well, this guy's not getting passes or reps or whatever the case may be, I don't worry about that because you are just trying to get through a game healthy and seeing what you have from a depth standpoint without showing your hands from an offense or defensive standpoint. So not concerned at all.
To wrap it up here with this final game coming up on Saturday, the players or the position groups that you're going to be keying in on mostly?
Offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it Sunday. That second group, and again, the likelihood of losing all 5 offensive linemen is pretty slim. That being said, you're going to lose an offensive lineman or 2 this year at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that depth. It's who is
it fair to say they're better at interior depth wise?
Oh, no question.
Yeah,
no question. Especially not even seeing Jordan Morgan, like we talked about. So, yeah, it's those backup guys, and I think you nailed it. There is a battle to be had at receiver, and so I think being an old offensive line coach, I'm going to look at the big boys. I'm going to see what kind of depth this team has. Does Goody need to go out and get a couple of guys at cut down to reinforce the backups, reinforce the depth there? So I think it's that offensive line. And again, depending on who plays, you obviously have a potential question mark at quarterback right now. Sean Clifford, Michael Pratt, both of them didn't show a lot. I mean, there was a stat I saw that if you spike the ball on every play, your quarterback rating is around a 30. Okay. And Sean Clifford's was a 39 or 38 or 39. I mean, he would have been better off just spiking the ball on every play, and because you don't throw a pick at that point, it doesn't look good. So, yeah, it's just they got to figure out that backup quarterback situation, and there's not a lot of vets out there right now. I mean, are you better off with who you've got as a backup as opposed to who you could get? And I would say right now, if Clifford shows at all on Saturday, because he's going to get a lot of reps, as is Pratt, whoever shows better Saturday is probably on the 53 and the other guy's not.
I know there's a lot of guys we could pick from, in the first 2 games, if there's anybody that's really kind of stood out to you. But if I had to pick one, Lucas Van Ness just looks a lot more comfortable.
No question.
From what we've seen these first 2 games.
No question. And I think this goes back to the defense. You've got in Lucas Van Ness and in Rashawn Gary specifically, you got guys who put their hand in the dirt in college, Iowa, Michigan, respectively. So they are much more comfortable rushing the quarterback, staying disciplined in their run gaps, all of those things with their hands in the dirt. Those are 2 guys, I think, and I said Kenny Clark earlier as far as who's going to benefit the most. I think the expectations from Rashawn Gary have been bigger all along. I think Kenny Clark has been quietly a really good pro. I think this defense makes him an all-pro. I think you look at Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness, and I think is Rashawn Gary going to hit that double-digit sack mark? Yes. Is Lucas Van Ness going to take that over probably next year from Preston Smith? Yes. And so, yeah, you take a guy who used to put his hand in the dirt, move him to that outside backer playing in space, and now put him back with his hand in the dirt, he's going to be much more comfortable.
Yeah, it's not just the sack numbers, but the pressure he's been able to provide and making that quarterback step up in the pocket. And then Colby Wood and Carl Brooks, I thought have been looking pretty good over there too. So I feel like defensive front is pretty much set at this point.
You say that real quick. Jonathan Ford. It's going to be interesting to see. This guy's a huge man. And I don't think if Green Bay cuts him, I don't think he makes it through waivers and gets back on the practice squad. So you can't coach speed, you can't coach size. And Jonathan Ford, in my opinion, is an excellent 2-down run stuffer. And so there's a guy that might, just because of the depth.
Because you got Slayton over there, too.
Absolutely.
So.
And so there's a guy, though, that I think is going to play in the NFL. Just not sure if it's going to be with the Packers.
Yeah. It's going to be some tough ones. But that's what happens, too, when you don't have a lot of undrafted free agents either.
And that's probably not, they're going to break the string this year.
Yeah.
I don't see an undrafted free agent making this team.
Can you even name one right now?
No.
Hey, that's the thing. That's not a bad thing. It's just
who was the guy that had the sack for the safety?
Oh, the kid. Oh gosh, yeah, I can picture him.
Number 60.
60.
Yeah. Which even though I wore that in high school, that's not when you're given 60 in camp as a defensive lineman or linebacker, whatever he played.
Yeah,
the odds of him making this team not too good, but
not great.
Practice squad. There's a guy that showed. So. I don't see the undrafted rookies, any of them making it.
I think they only signed 8 after the draft too.
Yeah, when you have a big draft class like that, you put all of your eggs in that basket rather than saying, "Hey, we can pluck some guys down here." So I went through it with my buddies, and this guy is just a windsock, and he said, after the game Sunday night, this team is no better than 10-7, and I'm just relax. Just let's see what happens regular season. I'm still sticking with I see this as a 12-5 football team, and nothing this preseason has taken that away. So I still say that they are right around that 12-5 mark.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll be over there on Saturday, so I'll give you the Scouts view.
Give me the Lambeau view.
Scouts view of it. So.
I did book all my hotels this week for my games that I'm making it to. So and you know what? If I'm not mistaken, you're going to a couple of other games this
year. One more because of you. So, yeah, Hudson's going to his first regular season game.
I am so excited. When you told me that Hudson is going, it took me back to when I took my boys.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be happier. And like I said, take a lot of pictures.
Yes, we will. He first asked, he's like, well, who do they play? And I said, well, it's Houston. He's like, so CJ Stroud and Diggs. And I said, yeah. He's like, yeah, I want to go. So
that's awesome.
So,
and like I said, it took me back. Took me back to when I was a kid, when my dad took me to Lambeau. I went to my first game in the early 70s. Took my boys to their first games. Captain, couldn't be better.
Well, and that's like one thing I want to do, not to get on an emotional thing, but I didn't go to my first game until I was in college.
Right.
So it's like, well, I want to change that for my little guy.
Well, I tell you what, if Huds has a blast, just consider it done every year. You get a game to choose for you and Huds.
Well, appreciate that, sir.
You bet, bud. You bet. Hey, I'm glad I'm in studio today.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So, hey, best of luck on Friday.
Thank you. Friday Night Lights,
yes.
Hudson.
Yep.
And you know what? I got to tell you, I feel really good.
Yeah?
Yes. I feel
that
really
field
good.
looks super sharp. Your new one over there. I drive by it multiple times every day.
We are itching to get on it, and we don't know if and when. We're hopeful at the end of the season we're going to have Friday Night Lights at Eau Claire Memorial. Not having to take a bus to Carson, having true a home game experience for the old Abes.
Yeah, the press box and the bleachers up and everything. So looks pretty good.
Yeah, you're going to see me, next year. I don't want to do it this year because you don't know if the bleachers are all set, but you'll see me running steps next year.
Okay, Robert Saleh. I'll believe that when I see that. So
well, I didn't say how many steps.
Yeah. Or which steps, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a step outside the studio here that I might
think
just
there's
go
a little
up and down.
hump in the hallway.
Yeah,
too.
I think so. I'll just go up and down.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Joe. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, have a good one.
Thanks, buddy. Took a quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk some college football with, well, there you go. There's the shot clock music already. We're going to talk some college football with Mr. R.J. Cardinal. That'll be coming up in about 25 minutes or so. 2 in. We got 1 more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick words. Final hour on this Tuesday morning, kicking off right now. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from on this fine August 20th morning. We're going to get to some college football talk, some Badger football talk with our dude, Mr. RJ Cardinal, coming up in about 15, 20 minutes or so. Badgers last week making it officially official, naming Tyler Van Dyke their starting quarterback, which probably shouldn't be that big of a surprise for anybody out there, but Badgers making it officially official. So we'll hit that up. We'll talk about some more stuff surrounding the Badger football team as we get set for kickoff for them next Friday. Next Friday, as they take on Western Michigan. The college football season, though, begins this Saturday with a slate of games. As now we've got every Saturday up until the final end of it all. We've got football on TV. We've got college football on TV. So we'll catch up with RJ and hit up that. We've got some Brewers, Chap Brewers back at it tonight to begin a series against the St. Louis Cardinals. A 3-game series against the Cardinals. First pitch for tonight's game is at 6:45. You can catch it on the radio dials at 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Frankie Montas is going to be on the mound for the Brewers in his 4th start with the crew. Eric Fetty going to be on the mound for the Cardinals, also just his 4th start since being acquired before the trade deadline. We were looking at kind of the matchups in the first hour, batting order, batting lineup against some of these pitchers, and maybe a couple players for this Brewers team, maybe kind of excited about this upcoming matchup with Fetty. One is Rhys Hoskins. Rhys Hoskins has had 29 career at bats against Eric Fetty, 3 home runs, 310 batting average, and a 1.084 OPS against him. I gotta imagine Rhys is thinking, or maybe licking his chops here a little bit about the potential matchup going up against Eric Fetty tonight. William Contreras only has 8 career at-bats, but in those 8 career at-bats, he has 2 home runs, and he's hit .625 against him and a 2.075 OPS. Contreras, we know, has started off incredibly hot at the beginning part of this season, right? I mean, MVP talks in the first month, maybe couple months of the season. He finished off the month of April. Month of April, he hit .350 for crying out loud. May kind of came back down to earth, .301. June, a little bit of a struggle, .218. July, though, got it back up to .244. And so far this month in August, Contreras, .283, batting .283, which is right around his season average. .282 so far this season, an OPS of an .819, which when you look at what Contreras is hitting at right now, it's pretty much right around his career numbers. So, what we're seeing from Contreras, especially this month, but all season long now, it's leveled out after his insanely hot start to the season. But his regular season OPS is an .819. He's a career .818. His on-base percentage this season's a .355. He's a career .354. And he's a career .277 hitter right now. He's at .282. So, things are leveled off, and especially when you break it down by the month of what he's doing in August so far, kind of right around his career numbers. In fact, in the month of August, his on-base percentage is .368, which is a little bit higher than his career numbers here, or career averages. But still, this is the version of William Contreras that we usually get, outside of the insanely hot start that he had to begin the year. Which, we're going to need Contreras to continue to play at a high level without Christian Yelich in his lineup too. So it'd be good to get Contreras back on track after having a sluggish June, right? You hit .218 and you're only slugging .287, and your on base was a abysmal .248. You kind of bounced back there in July, but let's get back to It'd be really cool if we can get them back to the first couple months of the season, especially as we get set for the postseason coming up here too. So, but Brewers up 11 over the Cardinals for first place in the division. Still got a lot to play for. I mean, for one, let's cut the snake off at the head. Let's keep pushing the Cardinals down here a little bit more in the standings, right? I know they're still just on the outside of a wild card chase here, but if they want any chance at all to make a run here, kind of starts with this series for the Cardinals. So let's cut the snake off at the head. Let's keep pushing the Cardinals down. But also, Brewers have another goal at hand. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. They got another goal at hand. It's competing for that top spot in the National League, for that 1 seed. They're just one game back from the Philadelphia Phillies for the top spot in the National League, entering this final quarter of the regular season. That's it. And the Dodgers too, because Phillies got a slight advantage, win percentage. Philadelphia is 73-51. Dodgers are 74-52. So Phillies got a 589 win percentage. Dodgers 587. Brewers 581. But they got a shot. And right now, considering, what the playoffs would look like right now, if the playoffs started today, Brewers actually, was it yesterday? Let me see if I can find it. As of yesterday, they would have played the Braves, which I think Brewers fans would be okay with that one. It's just, I think if you could avoid playing the Padres and the Diamondbacks in that first round, that would be ideal. Yeah, the Brewers would take on the Braves. The Phillies would have a first round bye. The Dodgers would have a first round bye. And then you'd have the Padres if the playoffs start. These were as of yesterday. The Padres would take on the Diamondbacks, which, I mean, if these two teams continue to play well down the stretch and they continue to stay hot, I mean, that would be a heck of a series between those two. But then, I mean, at least the Brewers, in a sense, would avoid potentially playing one of those two hot teams there. But again, Atlanta, I know they're going through a lot of injuries right now, and they're so up and down in that. But I don't know. I'd like to have a bye. Let's be real. I'd like to have a bye. So, a lot of baseball games left to be played though before we can kind of really start to figure out matchups and all that good stuff there. So, but back to Frankie Montas. He's looking for his 6th overall win of the season. He's just got he picked up a win in his first start as a Brewer, back on the 2nd against Washington. And when we look at Frankie Montas' outings, that win against Washington, he gave up 9 hits, 3 earned runs, struck out 5, didn't issue any walks. Atlanta, no decision, 4 innings, 2 hits, 4 walks, 3 earned runs, struck out 7. His latest outing against the Dodgers, again, another no decision, 5 innings, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, no earned runs, but 3 walks. I'm looking for this complete game now from Frankie Montas. Like, in these 3 games, if we just look at his 3 games with the Brewers, we've had, a game where he's got no earned runs. We've had a game where, he didn't issue any walks, or we've had that game where strikeout was up to 7, but we've had games, 9 hits. I want a complete game now. Like put it all together. 6, give me a 6-inning outing, couple hits, no high earned runs, no free bases, no high walk numbers. Just put it kind of all together. Kind of like what, we saw Aaron Civale last Friday. That was his best game as a Brewer. Freddie Peralta followed it up with a solid start. Colin Ray had a masterful game on Sunday. I want to see now Frankie Montas kind of put it all together now and have a quality start, have a solid outing tonight. Because Frankie's kind of now, I think, between Frankie and Savali and DL Hall, those guys potentially competing for that 4th spot in the rotation when it comes to the playoffs. We know the top 3 already, barring any injury. Knock on wood. It's Freddie, it's Colin Ray, it's Tobias Myers. Those are your 3 as of right now. If the postseason were to start, you go to a 4th. Who is it? Who has the upper hand right now? I don't know if there's a clear-cut leader at this point in time. And, we threw out 3 options. Maybe the 4th option is all the above, where it's kind of a bullpen opener sort of thing. Guys get a couple innings worth and you move on to the next. I think it's kind of up in the air at this point for Pat Murphy and the Brewers to figure out, unless one of those 3 guys that we mentioned kind of turns it around and starts putting together back-to-back really good starts. So, but that's what I want to see from Frankie Montas tonight. Besides, outside of a win, obviously, I want to see that kind of complete game from him now, putting it all together. A couple tacks to catch up on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line here. Back to the Brewers here. This is from Eric. Regards to the Brewers, I agree with you. I think it's going to be worth watching to see who wins that 4th spot in the starting rotation right now. Who do you think would have the lead? I kind of mentioned it there. I don't know who really has. Maybe the leader in the clubhouse is all of the above, where you just go with a back to piggyback it sort of thing. Maybe that's one, but I don't think there's a clear-cut leader. If I had to pick, I think it's I might go Frankie. If I had to power rank him, if you're forcing me, I might go Frankie as the potential leader in the clubhouse for maybe being that 4th man in the starting rotation. A couple more texts to get to here. Don't have a name. Can't give you any credit on this one. But question here, they ask, who do you think is going to be that offensive player that catches on fire for the final quarter of the regular season? Assuming one does. I know Willie's been playing really well at the plate right now. I want to see Rhys Hoskins kind of like really get into a groove here now. I want to see Rhys Hoskins catch on fire. I know that doesn't really answer the question, who do I think it's going to be? So I guess I'm kind of switching it to who I really want it to be. I want to see Rhys Hoskins be that guy. I mean, if you look at his last 24 at-bats, he's hitting just 125, slugging 250, and he's an on-base of a 192. This is a guy, I think, when you're entering this final stretch and you're getting into the postseason, we got to see him be a consistent threat at the plate. I want to see Rhys Hoskins start to catch fire here. That's the guy I want to see. And, I mean, when you break it down month by month of what he has done so far, I mean, yes, he's had a couple games or a few games in a row. I mean, he started off March, just 3 games into the beginning of the season. He hit 273. But, I mean, April, Rhys hit 233, 453 slugging, 337 on base. May, 244, 340 on base, 488 slugging. 213, 289, 313 June. July was 192, 262, 507 slugging. We kind of know Rhys Hoskins is about the power, right? It's about the long ball. It's the home run ball. But I think, especially with Yelly out of that lineup, I want to see a little bit more consistency from Rhys Hoskins. One more text before we have to take a break and get to RJ here. So I know I kind of flip-flopped or kind of altered the question there. I guess if I had to make a prediction, I'll go Contreras, who I think is going to get hot before the season. Who I want us to get hot is Rhys Hoskins. One more text here about the Brew Crew. This is from Adam. Adam says about the Crew. My biggest concern surrounding the Brewers right now is if they start to read their own headlines and start to kind of get in their heads and don't finish off the final month of the season on a high note. Yeah, I mean that we kind of talked about that a little bit yesterday. What's your biggest concern heading into this final quarter of the regular season for the Brewers? And I think a lot of people said yesterday being too complacent. And sure, there is some headlines kind of going out there nationals wise, like, hey, we should start paying attention to the Brewers. Hey, it's time to stop overlooking the Milwaukee Brewers and such. Yet, you go to, if you believe in power rankings or you're a fan of power rankings, they're still kind of like 6, 7, where it's 5, 6, 7, where they've been hovering all season long. I know that's a concern, especially when you got younger guys on the team. But again, that's where I put more of that responsibility on the veterans of this team and Pat Murphy. Be like, dudes, we got to stay focused. Still a lot to play for. I'm sure there's going to be butterflies rolling into the stomachs of some of these young guys as soon as they get to the postseason or get closer to the postseason. It's only natural. It's only human. But that's where I look for the veteran leadership to step up and kind of lead that charge for this team. All right, let's take a break. We're going to switch gears here a little bit. We're going to talk some college football, talk some Badgers. Mr. R.J. Cardinal, he's coming up after these few words.
through Lumberyard. Plus, you can get free estimates fast with our deck and fence design programs. In-store or online at Menards.com.
Save big money at Menards.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more. From brands you trust like Keen, Merrell, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
Hey guys, it's Joe again. So you all have heard me talking about Courtney House for a few months now, and a lot of you have taken advantage of my free drink offer. Matter of fact, I'm taking out a loan just to cover my tab. But it's all worth it because of the great people who hang out at Courtney House. My wife and I love it. Could be date night, hanging out with buddies to watch the game, dinner with the family, or coaches meetings. It's my #1 go-to spot. Truly some of the best bar food I've ever had. The homemade wing sauces are out of this world, and bartenders who know exactly what I want before I even sit down. And remember, you can always book the back room for private parties or events. Now that it's officially football season, whether it be Friday night lights after Old Abe football, college football Saturdays, or Sunday fun day with the NFL, I'll probably be there even more. So if you're looking for that bar where everyone truly does know your name, it's time to make a Courtney House appearance. And yes, your first one is still on me once my loan is approved. Join me, Grant Avenue, downtown Eau Claire.
Maybe you miss parts of the Dan Casper Show because of the clown that lives in the sewer.
You will do.
Don't worry. You can get highlights of the show on the Man Cave Podcast, available on your favorite podcasting platforms.
Football season actually begins this weekend. We got a few slate of games, including number 10, Florida State is going to be in action going up against Georgia Tech. Badgers will kick off their season next Friday at Camp Randall Stadium. So we get to talk about the actual games at hand. So let's bring in our experts here, Mr. R.J. Cardinal joining us. First things first, R.J., officially became official last week, which shouldn't be a surprise, I don't think, to a lot of Badgers fans. I mean, you even talked about it how many times, but Tyler Van Dyke officially named the starting quarterback for the Badgers. What type of quarterback should Badger fans maybe expect to see from Tyler Van Dyke? From what you know, from what you've seen, and from what you read, what type of quarterback should we expect to kind of see out there on the field?
We should be expecting the quarterback who was doing very well as a freshman at Miami. He's had multiple different coordinators, multiple different position coaches, and I guess judging by what some people have said that are currently coaching him and then took it back immediately, they didn't coach him the right way. And I mean, that was Phil Longo in his presser with the media, and then immediately goes, well, I don't know what they were doing, so I can't really comment on that. But he's a big arm quarterback who has been in a similar system that they went away from, and then he's a smart quarterback. You don't become freshman of the year and just for no reason. It's not luck. So I think we're going to be seeing more of a guy who has big arm potential from everything I've seen and read. He's going to be a more mobile quarterback, not like tuck it and run all the time kind of guy, but he can get himself out of danger. So I think we're going to be seeing a more well-rounded quarterback, not necessarily a dual threat quarterback.
Okay. So last year, Badger fans got used to Tanner Mordecai and such. Is there any similarities to Tanner Mordecai? Is he a little bit of a different quarterback, do you think?
From what I've read and what I've talked to some people, he has a bigger arm than Mordecai.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting to see. But much like Mordecai, where, I mean, before the season last year, nobody was talking about his running ability. I don't know if it's the same kind of running ability, but you're getting a similar style quarterback, but he's also a bigger quarterback than Tanner Mordecai. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I mean, most of the same weapons are still here in terms of your receiving core, both tight ends and wide receivers. I mean, a lot of the same running back room is here, whether you think that's a good thing or not. You're really just missing Braylon Allen. You added Tyree Walker. And from the sound of it, Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree, both freshman running backs coming in, are going to be pushing for playing time. And I mean, from what I am, also their freshman running back, who is actually an early enrollee, loves hitting people.
All right.
So, I mean, he could be a short yardage kind of guy along there with Jackson Aker. And it'll just be interesting to see how this running back room flushes out with that. But quarterback wise, it seems like we're going to be okay there, even with Braden Locke, because Phil Longo called them 1A and 1B right now. So, you know, whether you want to call that having two quarterbacks so you don't have one, or however you want to kind of throw that out there, I'm not too sure. But, I think we'll be okay at quarterback.
You mentioned a little bit there with the running backs, and that's what I was going to kind of ask you about next, because, I mean, you know, it's historically, a lot of times, you know, we're talking about the running back when it comes to this Badgers offense, whether it's, you know, Braylon Allen, or, you know, it's Melvin Gordon, it's Jonathan Taylor. I mean, the list goes on and on. And, you know, this year we got a 6-year guy, Ches Malusi. You mentioned Walker over there too. Is it kind of a little quiet, though, do you think, this year, talking about these, for at least maybe from the national side, talking about these running backs on Wisconsin this year?
Yeah, a little bit probably, because your main running back or your starter is injury prone. You have another transfer who came in Tyree Walker, who most people at Oklahoma seem really bummed about him leaving. So, I mean, when you see a fan base like that, you tend to think you're getting something good, but still, it's a guy who had to transfer to go get playing time. From, I guess, what you saw from the rest of the running back room last year in terms of Yakameli and Aker, left a little more to be desired. And then you have three freshmen who aren't really they're an unknown as they come in. You know, they've had great careers in the high school level, but, you know, like everybody says, you're coming to play a level up, and you can't expect to be, you know, the big guy right away. But from practice reports and all that, at least two of them, Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree, are going to be pushing for playing time. And then you still have a guy like Nate White from King in Milwaukee, who will be a redshirt freshman this year. And I mean, he's a speedster, but maybe a little bit on the smaller side in terms of weight. It'll be interesting to see where they kind of line him up. Apparently they've been putting him, lining him up in some slot kind of situations. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But went from a running back room that, you know, besides your top two, you weren't too confident in, to a pretty deep running back room, and seeing maybe some freshmen pushing for playing time. So it'll be really interesting to see how it all flushes out in terms of if people redshirt, where Yakameli and Aker flesh out here, as well as Nate White, who redshirted last year. So kind of intriguing running back room this year.
On the defensive side, RJ, when we look at this, is the sky the limit this year for a guy like Ricardo Holman? Last year had a fantastic kind of breakout year after, you know, kind of quiet for first couple years, and now he's entering, I think, with a lot of attention around him. I know ESPN did their top 100 college football player rankings last week, and and he was the only Badger on there, and I think number 60, 61, somewhere around there. But I mean, what is the sky the limit for this guy? Can he do a little bit more than what we even saw from last year, or what's it? What are you expecting from him this year?
I can't remember if he was really close to leading the nation or tops in the nation in interceptions and didn't get any All-American votes last year. So,
Yeah.
It's whatever he's got to do to get above that. Sure. But I saw he was named a preseason second team All-American this year. So at least he's getting something there. But he's going to be that number one corner there. And I don't know if that's going to be a shadow situation of the best receiver out there, or if they keep him on the left or right, depending on where he's going to line up. But he's a guy who I think, even when you didn't have a lot of pressure from at least your front three last year, and your defensive line was lacking a little bit, it's something where you can say, there wasn't pressure interceptions or anything like that. He had to make his own. And when you can do that and still be amongst the leaders in interceptions in the year and not get any credit for it whatsoever, probably because your team was losing games. I think with team success, we'll see him get more recognition this year. So as long as the team's doing well, he has an opportunity to get some of those postseason awards.
So with him being the only Badger on that list, I'll ask you kind of like a buy or sell question. Buy or sell if the next Badger or the closest Badger to be on that list, buy or sell, would it have been, in your opinion, Hunter Wohler or somebody else?
Oh, absolutely, Hunter Wohler.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of go up and down the list, and it seems odd to say, but I'm not putting a one of our O linemen on there right now. Our receivers, it's not like they were blowing people away with stats last year. Offensively, Ches Malusi, if he were coming back off of a healthy year, maybe he'd be on there. Defensively, maybe Daryl Peterson. But we're looking at a bunch of guys who are getting their first crack at being a full-time starter, or first crack at getting a lot more minutes. But yeah, I think out of the team, it'd be those two. And it's a little surprising Hunter Wohler isn't a top 100 player, but I guess when you're going all over and it's offense and defense, kind of hard to get more than that in there unless you're recruiting 5-star kids who everybody wants to have on those lists.
Mm-hmm. Back to the running backs here quick, and I apologize if I'm remembering it wrong, but I think last year when we were talking about the running backs and its new offense, I can't remember if you mentioned or if it was you or somebody else that maybe Ches Malusi was a better fit with this style of offense. Do you feel that way with this style of offense with Phil Longo coming in, that maybe a running back like a Ches Malusi is that type of running back that would fit in this style more so than maybe what Braylon Allen did last year?
I think it's more of an offense that can really fit anybody. Because even with a downhill runner, you'd expect that person to be able to find an open hole and just go hit smaller DBs, but when you're more of the slasher kind of style guy, we saw him do well in a pro style offense. He was doing well. In 4 games he had 300 yards rushing, so that's doing okay last year. But yeah, it's one of those. So that's pushing you towards 1,000 yards if you play that out for your full 12 game season, which he hasn't had a full 12 games since his freshman year at Clemson, and even then he was getting spot touches and not even really doing much. So it's one of those. I think we could see, call it a comeback player of the year if he stays healthy. we can see him having one of those type of seasons where he can hopefully add his name to the list of 1,000-yard running backs here at Wisconsin, where people now think we don't run the ball anymore, even though it's not the air raid.
Right. Of the new guys, of the new players, whether they're transfers or maybe just guys that didn't get playing time last year but are expected to get some more playing time this year, is there one or maybe a couple guys that you're really intrigued to see get some action, some regular action this year?
Well, I like some of those defensive transfers, like John Pius and Curtis Tackett Curtis and Leon Lowry. Really, seeing what those guys can do in terms of adding to the linebacking core. Where I mean, you're still in the whatever we're calling this defense now, because it's not really it's like a more of a 2-5, a 2-4. It's kind of one where you have some bigger guys who are on the outside who can be your rush ends, but they also have enough speed to drop into coverage and cover a tight end who might be a mismatch problem elsewhere. So some of these transfers that we're seeing coming in on the defensive side of the ball and the linebacking positions are kind of what I'm looking to see. Because, I mean, when you couldn't stop the run at all last year, it'll be interesting to see how, even taking away a defensive lineman will help that out. But I think if your playmakers are your linebackers and safeties, like that should help out the situation. But it's really how these new linebackers come in and at least create depth and put some more athleticism on the field.
So RJ, with the college football season officially kicking off this weekend, kind of taking a look at the whole landscape here, what are some of the storylines, or what are some of the things that you're going to be watching or maybe paying extra attention to with this season outside of the Badgers? Is there anything that has kind of piqued your interest? Is it obviously with the expansion of the college football playoff coming up this year? What's something that maybe has got you maybe a little bit more, even more excited for the upcoming college football season?
It is that 12-team playoff. Because if you lose a game, you're not, sitting there in purgatory until you get told what bowl game you're going to, and if you qualify for one. So I mean, it's one where, I mean, heck, you could probably have 3 losses and make the playoff, really, depending on how the rest of college football plays out. But it's really the new conferences we have, where, I mean, where you have 4 teams in UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington. What's travel going to be like for them? It's how does that affect them? Or even look at the ACC. What's it going to be like when Stanford and Cal have to travel across the country to go play a game? You're probably not leaving on a Thursday night anymore. You're probably heading out a little earlier. So it's the new conferences, how that all plays out. Will Oklahoma and Texas really be able to kind of handle the SEC? I mean, I think we saw with Texas last year, they seem to be closer to being back. I'm not going to say they're back, but closer to being back. And Oklahoma, they seem like, I mean, when your last coach left because he didn't want to join the SEC and tucked his tail between his legs and said, I can't compete like that. It'll be interesting to see what Oklahoma does, because, I mean, I don't think anybody's been thrilled with what Oklahoma's put on film the past few seasons under Venables. So, it's really how these new conferences are going to flush out with the players, the new players in each one. And will those new teams be contributors, or will we see maybe the logistics of things tend to maybe play into gameplay? And that's even, teams traveling to the West Coast to go play that. So, it'll be a little interesting to see how the whole thing gets played out, especially in the ACC and Big Ten, with travel time and trying to get more acclimated to 2 to 3 time zones away, depending on where your school is, and how that affects a season.
Before I let you go now, RJ, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me a team that you think heading into this season is a little overrated from the national sense, and then maybe a team that's a little underrated, not talked about enough.
Well, I mean, overrated. That could be just about
I was
anybody in the preseason poll. You know that for me.
Yep.
I mean, nothing's happened yet, and yet we're sitting here talking about, oh, they're number one because of their off the field record. It's like, okay, that makes sense. You know, man, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a few I think are underrated. I think we could see Kansas, especially moving out Texas and Oklahoma. Kind of, it sounds weird to say, but it might be between Kansas and Kansas State for the Big 12 this year. And then overrated, I mean, I can't say I was impressed with LSU last year, even when we played them and ended up losing. But that's one, I think people in the media like their coach, and it's an SEC school and they get bumped up. But I mean, there's no way that recruiting class and what they have at that school should have been playing against Wisconsin in a bowl game and, having a relatively close bowl game that they had to come back and win. I mean, that shouldn't have happened last year, and there's no reason that should be a top 15 team in whatever poll you're looking at. So those are my two there.
I want to ask you about one team. I'll give you an over/under 5.5 for Colorado.
Ooh, and their schedule gets easier this year by joining the Big 12. I will say that. I'll say over, I guess.
Okay.
They'll get to 6.
That's kind of where I was at too, to be honest. It was like right around 6.
It's really one of those. It depends on if Coach Prime pulls a Coach Prime, and I mean, some of those games, I think he thought they were going to win, and they didn't prepare.
Yeah.
So it's really, did he learn his lesson? I mean, he fired some good coaches that are now head coaches elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see if he can actually take the blame for something, or if he's going to keep being Coach Prime and lose games he shouldn't, as well as lose games to teams that are absolutely better than them on paper, as well as the field. So it's a toss-up, but I'll give him 6 wins this year.
Yeah, I like it. He's RJ Cardinal. Happy starts the college football season this weekend, buddy. And next week we get to actually preview a Badger game there too. So happy start to the season, buddy.
Oh, thank you very much. We'll talk to you about the Western Michigan Broncos next week.
Sounds good, buddy. You have a good week, and we'll talk to you then, okay?
All right. We'll see you then.
You got it. RJ Cardinal joining us, talking some college football here this morning. Let's take a quick break, and we'll wrap some things up here this morning. We're going to do some picks and predicts and all that fun stuff. Coming up after these quick words. All right, let's make some picks and predicts this morning, shall we? Picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room, located in Eau Claire. You got Wednesday trivia. Coming up here looking for somewhere maybe to catch some college football action this Saturday. Heading over to the Elbow Room, or just some baseball games, or when football season rolls around, no better place than the Elbow Room to grab a cold beverage and watch some of the game with some good peeps over there too. So located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. Let's pick some baseball games, shall we? Got kind of a full slate of games here. After yesterday, we had some teams with an off day yesterday. So let's start off with, I'll go because, I mean, you got a playoff team here. Arizona at Miami. Arizona picked up a 9-6 win yesterday. Give me Arizona to pick up the win. Big series, Cleveland and the Yankees, the Guardians and the Yankees. This is in New York. Guardians are coming off of being swept by the Crew. I'm gonna go Cleveland picks up the win tonight. I'll go Cleveland. Baltimore at the Mets. I'll go Baltimore. Philadelphia at Atlanta. Give me Zach Wheeler versus Lopez. Give me Philly. Let's go the Twins at the Padres. Padres got the 5-3 win last night. Give me the Padres. They're just playing some really good baseball right now. So give me the Padres in that one. Seattle trying to get back in that wild card at the Dodgers. Dodgers had a 3-0 victory last night. Walker Buehler's on the mound. Give me the Dodgers to win that game. And then tonight we've got the Brew Crew. We've got, Frankie Montas on the mound. Eric Fetty's on the mound. Give me the Brewers to pick up a Game 1 victory. Rhys Hoskins, I think, has a night. Rhys Hoskins has a night. Gets a couple of hits going up against Eric Fetty. So I'll go with the Brewers picking up the win, which means the Brewers will probably lose because last week was bad when I was picking the Dodger ones. So, but I'll go with the Brew Crew tonight. That's your picks and predicts. Again, brought to you by our good friends from the Elbow Room. All right, let's kind of recap everything. We talked plenty of Brewers as we get set for this series with the St. Louis Cardinals. Game 1 tonight. Brewers still up 11 games over the Cardinals for first place in the division. Brewers, though, just one back from first place from the top spot in the National League. So talked a little bit about that. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be talking about a win and maybe even 12 games ahead of the Cardinals, depending on what the Cubs do too. Cubs maybe be moving back into that second place spot here. Cubs taking on Detroit at Wrigley Field. We talked a little green and gold. Packers will be back at practice today. 2:30 practice. Every other practice has been 10 o'clock besides family night. But last week, the Packers changing the time, moving it to 2:30. Don't know if it had anything to do with the late Sunday preseason game and such. But 2:30 practice. Then they've got a joint practice with Baltimore. That's open to the public on Thursday. And then our final preseason game coming up on Saturday. So we should hear from Matt LaFleur today. Hopefully we'll see some of the other guys who've been banged up here a little bit, maybe return to practice, maybe able to do a little bit more here in the next couple of days and such. So, but that'll be this afternoon. We talked a lot of Badgers just now with Mr. RJ Cardinal. College football season kicks off this weekend. Got a slate of games coming up this weekend. So next week, Badgers will take on the Broncos of Western Michigan. So we'll get to that, get to preview that game coming up next week already. A reminder for September 6th, that Friday night when Green Bay plays Philadelphia to open up their seasons, we will be that morning. We'll be doing that show from Hy-Vee. We're going to do a little tailgate show. So we're going to be outside doing the show and such. We'll have some fun out there, but to kind of kick off the Packer season over there. So stop by, blow the horn on your vehicle, maybe if you're getting some coffee or some breakfast or doing some grocery shopping or whatever the case may be. Stop by, blow the horn, and do a little Go Pack Go as you're going through. So we'll put that on there. Put that on your calendars. All right. Coming up tomorrow, Wednesday, already making a turn through this week. We'll definitely be talking about some Brewers, hopefully talking about a win. We'll recap the day of Packers practice. Anything kind of pop up? Anything of note to hit on? We'll discuss that a week from today. Packers got to get down to that 53-man roster. So, big week here for some of these guys who may be on a little bit of a roster bubble. Big week, big game coming up, and a big joint practice, too, to make some final impressions on the coaching staff and the front office. So, we'll hit that up as well tomorrow. Got a little business of sports planned for tomorrow, too. So, plenty to catch up on. Big thanks to all of you for texting in, commenting in on the video streams and such. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the YouTube page over there. All right. Got some more stuff coming up on YouTube in the next coming weeks there. So you want to make sure you're following that page there. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. You all have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Let's do this again tomorrow morning, just past